The experience that a lot of people have had recently, whether it's over politics or political debate, whether it's the pandemic and conspiracy theories therein. I mean, when it comes to speaking to people that we disagree with, especially when it comes to these conspiracy theories, I mean, how should we approach these conversations in your view?
Yeah, it's a lot of scholars today are becoming increasingly concerned that what we began to refer to in public health as the infodemic is now spilling into these other spheres of our life. So the political realm and conversations in there, there's so much misinformation and so many conspiracy theories, clanging around out there in public discourse that it's become difficult to have fact-based conversations. And oftentimes the conversations that we do have get very heated. People, living in different worlds almost when it comes to, understanding a pandemic or a planning issue for that matter. I'm actually in touch with a couple of scholars in the U.S. who've been really generous with talking with me as a young academic. One of them in particular, Robert Talisse, he's written some great books about how we really need to reclaim our ability to argue constructively. We need to be able to work through our differences and disagreements in order for democracy to function. And so we can't just retreat into our little bubble spheres of reality if we care about living in a society where different opinions, need to be factored into policy making. So we need to be able to have better discussions, and that becomes difficult when there's so much confusion around facts, even images, AI, all these things that are happening right now that strain public discourse.
It used to be, is it real or is it Memorex? And we've taken it so many degrees beyond that now. It's so true.
I'm just old enough to know that reference.
Yeah. So where can we learn and see examples of when open dialogue really worked?
Well, that's one of the questions that my dissertation research asks, and I'm curious about facilitative and dialogic approaches that work through really contentious issues. So my work looks at planning, and in particular, some of the backlash over the last year around the 15-minute city or smart cities and paranoias about urban change, and really fundamental issues of trust and distrust between governments and publics. And so one of the things that we've seen in planning is we've adopted some practices from work in reconciliation. And in particular, one that I touch on tonight in the talk is called deep democracy. And that began as a method of working through the conflict and trauma and distrust in South Africa during apartheid and the process of reconciliation there. So I'm curious about facilitative or dialogic methods like deep democracy as a way of possibly working through the polarization and tensions that are arising due to conspiracy theory beliefs and misinformation. And I don't claim to have any definitive answers now, but I think we need to be asking questions about how, when our beliefs and our politics are becoming so polarized, that we can start to come back together and have more meaningful discourse at a time that we face really important issues around climate change, the way our cities are planned, public health, and things that really matter.
I am hopeful, Wes. I am truly, truly hopeful. So in these dialogues that we're talking about today, is there room for disagreement?
I think so. And I think we've rehearsed a few times, and I have to say both Anjali and Paul's talks are fantastic. We did a practice run at a seniors home in White Rock, and it was really fun. And what's interesting is that we have three very different talks. And yet, I think for those who are in attendance and for those who will be able to watch the video after, they'll see that on our own, we arrived at some fairly similar places around our yearning to connect, our yearning to have meaningful conversations with people, the frustrations about the breakdown in communication, whether it's our friends and family and loved ones or our work colleagues, and the risks that come with an information landscape that's made it more difficult to have those meaningful connections and conversations.